Hey everyone, this is Gary from thephotographyexpress.com, and I'm again so happy to be here to talk to you about post-processing in Lightroom. We have a lot of things to cover today, so let's dive straight into today's topic. So what we're going to do today is to get into the details of the basic adjustment panel, the tone curve, and the adjustment brush. For the actionable items, I will walk you through all the basic panel adjustment from exposure all the way to saturation, how to use the tone curve effectively, as well as how to select a specific area for adjustment using the adjustment brush tool. So let's head on to Lightroom. This is the photo we left off in our last tutorial. So we already used the crop tool, the spot removal tool, and also the graduate filter tool. And if we click on the basic adjustment panel, you will see a whole list of things you can choose from. And this is basically the adjustment that we already made when we move around the lines on the histogram. The panel here is just to make the edits in a more detailed way. So we already talked about temperature and tint. Let's go down to exposure. This is to set the overall brightness of your photo. So you can make this brighter by moving the slider to the right, or darker if you move it to the left. For contrast, it is going to spread out the lines of the histogram and spread out a lot more, and also give your photo a solid feel. So if you move this to the right hand side, you see the lines are more spread to left and right. And if you move to the left hand side, you see all the lines are more staying towards the middle. So this is what contrast does. If you want to use contrast in a more technical way, you can use the tone curve. This is the same as the contrast in the basic panel. So the most effective way I would say is to make this line an S shape. So usually it is a straight line, but the way you can do is to go over here and then move this line up a little bit and also down a little bit over here. So this is the best way I find to use the tone curve. So back to the basic adjustment panel, you will have highlights, shadows, whites and blacks. So in my opinion, if you have done contrast correctly, you really don't need to touch those. For highlights, it's going to make the area that is already bright to be brighter. So it will be around this area here. You can move it brighter to the right hand side, or move the slider to the left to be darker for the bright areas. For shadows, it's going to make the shades area brighter or darker as well. So in this example, it will be the trees around here. So if you move to the right, you see more light towards the shaded area here. Or if you move it to the left, it's pitch black right now. So this is what the shadows does. Whites and blacks, I don't really use it often. It really just make an adjustment to the white or black points in your photograph. For clarity, it's going to add more textures to your photo. So my only recommendation is don't overdo it, because if you set this clarity really high, your picture is just going to look more fake. So don't overdo it. This is my only recommendation. Vibrance is going to impact colors other than yellows and oranges more. So in this example, it will be everything else here except the highways, because there's more orange and yellows here. So if you move this to the right, you'll see all the color changes except the oranges and the yellows. And on the other hand, for saturation, it's going to impact on yellows and oranges more than others. So as you can expect, it's going to impact the highway over here. So you see this area is a lot more red right now. So this is what the saturation tool does. So one more thing I want to show you is the adjustment brush. So say you want to make the area here, the trees, to be brighter. And you want to, if you do the exposure way, to set the exposure higher, it's going to impact the overall picture. So this is something you don't want. So to target a specific area for Lightroom to adjust, the way to go is the adjustment brush. So when you click the adjustment brush, make sure you hit new and also choose the right size of your brush, and then you're going to paint over it. So I'm going to paint over the shaded area here, And then usually I set the exposure really high so I can see where I'm painting. And after you set this exposure, you can move it down. So let's do 1.57. So the area that you painted is the area that Lightroom is going to make the adjustment. So this is what I want to show you today. We definitely went through a lot, but you can look at my show notes and my blog at www.thephotographyexpress.com/postprocessingexpress, and I'll see you again in session 5 of the Lightroom Tutorial Express.